Inside, I want to kill myself. We are on an 0-7 run over the last 2 days. After tonight was just complete bullshit. So that's how I'm going to start off this show. Horrible Sunday, 1-5. I don't even know what to tell you about that. I just don't want to do this anymore. I have never seen anything like this, man. With the slump continuing, 2 straight losses, not a good day at all. 0-4. I just have not had a good season, man. What can this slump that I'm on? The slump continues. I've reached a new peak, actually. With I'm gonna burn my Bruins hat, man. I don't know what is going on with the Bruins. March 8th, is that what it is? I don't even know. It's March 9th, I think. Who even knows, man? I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. Back with you after the worst day that I could possibly have. Back with you, as I always am. Until I die, at least. 0-2 yesterday, and yesterday did not go well for me. 0-5. The worst month that I've ever had in my 18 years doing this. I don't know what to even tell you about this anymore. Broke the slump yesterday as the slump just continues. The slump continues. Somebody fucking kill me, please. I don't even know what I should do at this point other than potentially end it all. What's up, everybody? It's Toad back with you for Toadstool Sports. I'm not going to get used to that at all. NFL edition, week 11. I don't even know what's going on anymore today. I don't even know what's going on anymore, I should say. But today, I mean, I'll talk about what happened today, tomorrow. I mean, there was a lot going on today. I believe it was 3-2 in college basketball. 3-2-1 in college basketball. If you got the best number on that Irvine game, because they were just right there at the number, man, and they pushed on the 9. So I know the number was higher than that. It's like once I did the show this morning, the number was already higher than that. Like, I don't know. I mean, it was a 9, like when I was about to do the show, and then as soon as I got to it during the show, it was 11.5. Whatever. I think it was back down to 10.5. I'm calling it a push for my own purposes, but yeah, I mean, other than that, 3-2 in college football, 2-0 in hockey. It was a winning day. I think it was 8-4-1. 8-4-1 on the day. I mean, I'll take it. It should have been better than that, but whatever. Dirty Sock, what's up? Oh, good night. You're already leaving? What? 10.5. They scored with 6 seconds left. Yeah, I mean, fucking bullshit. I mean, I did mention you could put that in a moneyline parlay instead. How's my voice, by the way? It seems like there's something going on. Like I have something in my monitor here. It doesn't sound quite right. I don't know what's going on. And maybe it's all right. You can let me know if it's not. But, yeah, everything is bullshit. A couple of those football games. I mean, if you want me to talk about it now, we will, just because I want to get this stuff out of my queue here with all these banners here. Notre Dame, easy win to kick off the day. They annihilated Pitt. Pitt got like a late touchdown or something to make it even look less ugly than it was. Notre Dame completely dominated them. I didn't really look at the stats, but that was what it was. Arkansas probably should have had an outright win. They did cover, but I think it was a wire-to-wire cover for them, and they were winning outright for a lot of that game. So I think Arkansas should have had the win in that one. So I'm not really totally thrilled about them not hitting on the money line because I'm greedy. And LSU, I mean, I know they did have the ball in Arkansas territory towards the end, but I think they were able to just run out the clock. So it was a little bit dangerous because if they had scored a touchdown, they would have actually covered, but it seemed like that was unlikely. Michigan State started off real nice. They were up 7-0 out of the gate. They were winning 10-7, and then they just decided to never score again, and then they wound up losing and not covering. Penn State finally gets a conference win. What can you do, man? Let me adjust this camera a little bit here. Get my Houston Oilers jersey in view here. This is going to be a reference to one of the games today, and it's maybe not what you think, but and it's also to anger our friend Andy, who's never really watching the show, but he is a Titans fan. Maybe he'll actually like what I have to say today, though. or tonight. And then USC couldn't get it done. USC was in a big hole early. I was pretty surprised. I mean, they're not great defensively, but the fact that Iowa was out to a 21-7 lead, that was something I did not expect. And then USC came back and took the lead, and they did have the ball with 6 minutes left or something when they were up 5. So if they had scored on that possession, they would have covered, but they did not. They won by 5. So that sucked. But if you had them in like a money line parlay, they helped you out. Miami, we got an easy blowout win with Miami to finish the college football slate with a win. I don't know how helpful that's going to be in my pick'em groups, though, to just be one game above 500 in the splash pools that I'm in. I mean, college basketball, we started off with a win on Ohio. I mean, they obviously lost the game, but they were never really in danger of not getting that cover, although I think at the end of the game it was like 26, but they were a 31.5-point underdog. They never trailed by that much. They were within like within 20 for most of the like late stretch. So that was a win. Boise State could not get it done. Boise State, they looked like they were about to pull away, man. I mean, they were winning at halftime, and then I was like, all right, just turn it on in the second half, just go. They were out to an 11-point lead, and then they gave up a 17-5 run, and then they were actually trailing at that point. And then they did come back and win, but the spread cover was just completely out of the question at that point. After that run, that was bad. Fairleigh Dickinson got blown out, basically. That was never going to happen. Bethune-Cookman got it done for us. I think they covered all of the numbers. Bethune-Cookman, I think they only lost by like 9. I'd have to go back and look. But Bethune-Cookman, they were out to a 9-8 lead, I think, in the game. And then I think they kind of threw the lead away. But they were kind of just hanging in that game the whole time. They got the cover. Gardner-Webb, I wrote that off as a loss. Gardner-Webb is getting destroyed in that game. They were down probably by more than 20 in that game, and somehow they came back and got within the number, so I'll take that. And then UC Irvine, as we discussed, did not hit on the bigger number there. But, dude, UC Irvine, I think overnight they were like 7, and then when I entered it into my thing, they were 9, like as I started the show this morning, and then during the show, they were already up to like 11 and a half, and then it came back down to 10 and a half. They probably should have covered all of it. I mean, they were winning the game by more than that for the late stretch of that game, although not by enough to actually make it certain. So, I mean, hopefully people moneyline parlayed that or something. But for me, I mean, it was a push at the 9. But, I mean, if you want me to call it a loss on the show, I can. But, I mean, it was a winning day for me, so I am happy about that. Hockey came through for us today with a couple of close wins, I think. Tampa Bay just kind of hanging on to a lead there the whole time. They wound up winning 3-1. I don't know if it was an empty net goal at the end or what, but they were just hanging on to a slim lead, but they were able to get it done. Florida not putting up a lot of offense in that one. And then the Rangers had to be, the heart attack kids in their game, and they took a lead early, I think, and then the game was tied. I think it was just back and forth, tie game. I don't know if the Rangers ever trailed in the game. I'd have to go look and see if they did, but that game went into overtime. It might have actually gone into a shootout. I'm not even sure, but the Rangers were able to get it done. The Rangers, they don't lose on the road, baby. I mean, dude, we should just blindly do it. Just bet the Rangers on the road every single time and bet against them at home every single time. You'll win so much money that way, man. It's just ridiculous. I've never seen a road-home dichotomy like that. It's insane. This is C.J. Stroud, number 7, H-Town, Houston, which we'll talk about what's going on with that because he's probably never going to play again. That was a hockey parlay for you. Yeah, we'll get into the NFL. Hopefully we can get it. Hopefully we can get this show done more quickly than usual, although that's probably not going to happen because there are only 2 teams on bye this week, which are New Orleans and Indy taking a bye, I think, after playing in Berlin. My Indianapolis Colts, I should know that, but does my throat actually sound bad? I don't know. I mean, I'm doing all these shows. I'm talking too much. I don't know. What do you want me to do here? Hold on. Let me, I can change a few things here. I'm boosting my volume. How's that? I boosted my volume a little bit on the, let me see. Hold on. I'm trying to, oh, man. I'm bringing up some of the audio settings here, just trying to make sure that I can, yeah, I mean, Well, I don't know. Let me know, I guess. If it's, I don't know. I just increased it a little bit, but we'll see. Or hopefully, Charles, you're just joking. Yeah. No, dude, I should just get confident in everything, man. But yeah, on Instagram, I was like, Notre Dame is just going to kill Pitt. Pitt sucks. Dude, I mean, that was one of those games where Narduzzi, he basically just told you, like, we're not going to show up for this game. So I just had to do it. Winning day, yes. Yes, sir. Oh, thank you. Oh, okay. You think I'm always low, but if I turn the volume up like too high, depending on how I do it, like my voice, like when I listen back to it, it's definitely like, it's not popping, but it's like there's too much like gain. Like I can tell like the quality is like suffering. So, like I want to increase the volume like in my sound mixer on my computer, and then like not have the gain that far up on my Scarlett. And I took the Dynamite stick out because that thing was causing like way too much of a volume increase. And then I can play with it in StreamYard as well. Like I can increase it in StreamYard a little bit more if you want. Like bring it up to about here maybe. I don't know. How's that? Let me see my level. Whoo! If I do that, it seems like it's getting a little bit loud if I have it up this high. Although maybe this will help me. Maybe I'll have the volume up this high and I'll just talk a little bit lighter. Let's get into the NFL slate here, man. We're going to go through every game as usual. I'm going to have 3 plays. I have one that's almost a play for me. Yeah, let's jump right into it. Oh, and of course I had the UC Irvine. I had the UC Irvine page still up. Man, that's going to piss me off. Yeah, that I apologize, man, but it's just I did not know that the number in that game was going to increase like in the middle of my show. Like if I knew that it was going to do that, I should have given that out right at the beginning of the show. I just do it in chronological order, man. These basketball games are so difficult to get the best number on. But, of course, you want to get the best number on. Although in basketball, there's usually not that much of a difference between 9.5, 10.5, whatever. But, of course, it could always land somewhere there. You want to get the best number you can. All right. First game up tomorrow morning, Commanders-Dolphins, or I should say Redskins and Dolphins. This game is in Madrid, Spain. I am sick of these international games, absolutely sick of it. They keep adding more every fucking year. This is the first time that they're going to have a Madrid game, so neither of these teams is really familiar with this. They're not familiar with the venue. The Dolphins did play in a London game not too long ago. I want to say, I think it was like Dolphins-Chiefs within the last like 2 or 3 years. So the Dolphins, I think, like their current lineup, some of those guys do have some experience with traveling over to Europe. But, I mean, this is going to be a totally different thing. And, again, with the Jaguars, they have a ton of experience going over there. And it didn't matter for them as they lost horribly in their game. So the experience doesn't seem to matter a whole lot here. I think, and it seemed like it didn't even matter that the Jaguars traveled early and to get adjusted to the time zone. That didn't even help them. Although usually I think that is more helpful. But out of these two teams, I don't know which team went over there first. Yes. Yeah, those are their names. Dude, we got to bring the Redskins name back, man. In this game, the Dolphins were going to be a pick'em, which I think was kind of like maybe the line was thrown out there just not really knowing who the Redskins quarterback was going to be. Although I think we knew. Jaden Daniels is not back. I mean, dude, his elbow was bent backwards, dude. Built backwards, bent backwards. His elbow basically looked like me when I was born. He's not coming back. I know it was his non-throwing elbow, but he's done. Marcus Mariota is going to have to be the guy. So Mariota is in. So it looks like it was going to be a pick'em, maybe due to some of that uncertainty. Dolphins are a 2.5-point favorite, looking like they might be a 3-point favorite by the time this game goes. Public wants the Dolphins. 78% of the tickets on them, 54% of the cash, though, so the money is saying otherwise. This is a situation where the Dolphins, I mean, just because they won last week, and you remember that was probably my most confident of all my plays last week, the Dolphins plus the points was a major letdown spot for the Bills after beating the Chiefs. So I thought it was a terrible spot for the Bills. The Dolphins got it done for us, and they looked really good blowing out the Bills. So now The public was completely off of the Dolphins last week. The public was all over the Bills. Now this week, the public is completely shifted to the point where they're on the Dolphins. And not only that, but the Dolphins were an underdog last week. Now they're a favorite this week. And the public didn't want them as an underdog. And now they do want them as a favorite. And that is a red flag, man. When a team goes from an underdog to a favorite and the public shifts their perception on them from one game to another, that's not a good thing. So I'm obviously going to be looking to fade the Dolphins here. This one is almost a play for me. Like, this is the first one that's not on my card right now. And the only thing that's keeping me off of this card is, well, just Madrid uncertainty. I just don't love getting involved in these games, although I'm close to doing it. I know I did give out a winner in one of the London games this year. The only time I got involved in the Europe games was the Jets plus the points against the Broncos, and that was a winner. But Madrid, I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty here. And the other problem is last week was the Marcus Mariota injured player theory game again. So he, but they didn't step up their game. So that was like, well, I guess they tried to. That was the game where, you have your backup quarterback coming back in. You expect your team to like give a little bit more effort in that game. Although, granted, that was also a revenge spot for Detroit because Detroit had been knocked out of the playoffs by Washington last year. So, Detroit brought their game. Dan Campbell, he gets really angry in revenge spots like that. He likes to run up the score. So that's basically what the Lions did in that game. I'd mentioned that I was sort of teetering on the edge there towards just going with the public and that one in like pick'em pools and stuff. With the Lions, just because of the revenge scenario, like there was no way I was going to give out Washington plus the points in that one. But now this is going to be the second Marcus Mariota game. So usually a team is not in a good spot because usually they step up their effort in that first game with the backup quarterback in there, with the injured quarterback, because they know they have to play harder. Then in that second game, sometimes they are just tired from doing that, or they take a little bit of a step back. So sometimes that's the case, although I don't know that that's going to be the case in this game because Mariota has been in and out of this lineup for like the last 2 seasons, man, because Daniels keeps getting hurt. So maybe it won't really be a situation where Washington, they're not going to take their foot off the gas when they've lost a bunch of games in a row and they've looked really bad in these games. And Miami's in a letdown spot because Miami just pulled off a ridiculous upset win over the Bills. And not only did they do that, but Miami, their players and Mike McDaniel were like celebrating by going to there are Buffalo Bills bars in Miami, and they were going to the Bills bars and like trolling the Bills fans, the patrons there. So the Miami was completely over celebrating. And now that team, off of beating Buffalo, is going out to Madrid, where they might just keep the party going, dude. Like, honestly, the Dolphins, like, it's getting ridiculous because I know I'm taking a long time to just talk about this one game, but it's just so ridiculous. You know what? Maybe I will just add a play on this game. I'm pretty tempted to do it. Yeah, I think I'm going to do it, but I would say if you want to take Washington here, wait until it's a +3. I'll put it in at 2.5 right now, but I'm going to officially count this as a 3 if the 3 comes up. And I'm going to talk about one of these other games that I have a play on in a similar fashion, but I like Washington in this one. I'll give it out at +2.5 now, but again, I'm going to count it as +3 if it does hit 3 because it looks like it probably will by the time this game kicks off, so keep an eye on it. Public is all over Miami. Now, I think Miami, just off of that huge win, they're going over to Madrid. It might just be party time for Miami. And you have all these people like John Gruden out there and a lot of other people saying that Miami is going to make the playoffs, man. They're going to be that team that goes on this huge run and makes the playoffs because they got Tua, they got Achane. No, that's not going to happen. Miami, that was a big win. That was basically their Super Bowl against the Bills. They pretty much know their season is dead. I mean, every week the talk is like, is McDaniel going to be fired? And now it's because they beat the Bills, because of one game, it's gone from, oh, McDaniel is going to be, I'll keep the number up here. I'll keep the play up just because I'm talking about it. Every week it's McDaniel's going to get fired. And now just because of one game against the Bills, now it's Miami's going to make the playoffs. I mean, the perception is shifting so much. It's a huge overreaction. And with Washington, Washington has lost so many games in a row so badly that nobody's going to want to be on them in any capacity. And you got to think that leaving the entire country, like not only leaving home after a bad loss at home, 2 losses at home, but leaving the entire country behind, you got to think that that's got to be a positive for Washington, because that can just kind of be like a refresh. Just get out of there, focus on a football game. So something has got to, help Washington a little bit here. They've just been getting embarrassed pretty much week after week. Miami's not a very good defense either, so this Washington offense with Mariota at the helm should still be able to put up points in a game against he wasn't even that bad against Detroit last week, really. So they should be able to score against this Miami defense. Both these defenses are terrible, so I think the over also kind of makes sense in this game. It's gone up to 47, which is a key number. 68% of tickets, only 63% of the cash on the over. I know a lot of these Europe games tend to fall, a lot of them tend to fall under because, I don't know, you just see just sloppy offense for whatever reason in some of these games. This one, I don't really see that being the case. I don't know what the stadium is like, though. Like what the turf is like, as long as it's like a decent, well, if it's bad quality turf and it's all chopped up, it could be like that Brazil game, the one last year where the offenses just ran like crazy because the defenses couldn't like move to keep up with the offense. So I don't know, but yeah, I think this could be reset time for Washington. I mean, they've been just blown out in a bunch of games recently, and now they're going on the road. Miami, I mean, what has Miami really done this year? I know they had the huge win. They had a big step-up game against Buffalo, but other than that, they beat Atlanta with Kirk Cousins at quarterback, and Atlanta just was absolute trash. And then the other game, they beat the Jets because the Jets turned it over a bunch of times in a Monday night game, and the Jets actually outgained them. And those are Miami's wins. Okay, let's roll back the hype on Miami a little bit here, man. And if you look at this game against Buffalo, the yardage actually was pretty close in the game. Miami only Buffalo actually outgained Miami in the game. Miami was +1 in turnovers, so statistically the game is actually close, which you wouldn't realize it based on the score. The score was a little bit misleading in that game, although I think it was still the right call to go with Miami plus the points. It was an easy win and money line. But yeah, we're going to go with Washington in this game. I know that was a very roundabout analysis there, but I don't have my thoughts together on that one. So obviously it's going to be a loss, but that's my weakest of the 4 plays now that I'm going to give out. Washington plus the points. Situationship. Yeah, Miami they're obviously not going to make the playoffs. Which situational handicaps are the strongest and which are the weakest? I think the sandwich spot is the most important, but that means it's like a combination of 2 things happening where it's like the letdown spot from the week before in addition to a look-ahead spot. I think the letdown spot or the hangover spot is that's probably the strongest because that just happened to the team, so it affects you both mentally and physically. Whereas a look ahead is a little bit less of an impact, I would say, because you haven't played that game yet. So if you're able to kind of put that out of your head mentally, it won't be a factor, but it might still affect you mentally. So that is still an impact. If that makes sense, I don't know. And then, it also depends on how the line moves, because injured player spot, that's obviously something I use a lot. And then that depends on does the line completely overreact to it? Same with the reverse injured player spot when a guy comes back. A lot of it is kind of feel, to be honest. A lot of it is subjective, where I vibe with the game, man. I'm serious. I don't know. It feels very subjective. I don't know. I feel like I have a way of seeing things sometimes. And I see it right and I feel it, but it is recognizing patterns like this, though. I don't know. Hopefully that makes sense. In the day-to-day sports, though, which this doesn't apply to football, but in the day-to-day sports, the return home spot is a very, very negative spot as well in basketball, in NBA and MLB, I should say. Not really as much in the college sports. It doesn't really have an impact. But if that makes sense, those are some of the big ones. And then there are some that can be, fired coach is actually really, really strong. In my opinion, the fired coach spot comes through at such a high rate, especially in football. because you get the coach fired, and then you have 1 week. You're focusing on this one game, this 1 week, and that's all that week is about. So that seems to work almost every single time, which means I'm going to get jinxed here with one of my plays here this week. But yeah, my plays are all going to be ridiculously ugly. But yeah, Mr. Pinsey, hopefully that made sense. I don't know. I mean, you almost have to take each game like on its own merits, though. Like, and I don't do a great job weighing the strength of each one. So like, the whole time I've been doing this, I bet like 3 units essentially every single time, like bet to win 3 units every single time on every single bet. Like, I don't weigh one more heavily than the other, and maybe I should, because sometimes when I do feel really strong, it is actually better. But I don't know, it's just the way I've always done it. I've always had the same amount on each play. Oh, well, thank you. But I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm just rambling and it doesn't make any sense. Anyway, all right. I think that was it for that Washington one. These plays are going to be so ugly today, man. We're already a half hour into the show and we've talked about one game. Hell yeah. I'm going to leave the rest of the best bets to the end. One of them is going to be Packers-Giants. You already know what it's going to be. So I'm leaving that to the end. Buccaneers-Bills, as we are into the 1 p.m. slate here with these couple of games here. Bills sitting at around a 6-point favorite. It looks like it's 6 or 6.5 here. I don't think it's going to hit the touchdown. 60% of the tickets and only 57% of the cash on the Bills. So the Bills still look slightly public despite what happened last week, with a little bit less of the money. Although, I don't know, by the time this game kicks off, I'm not actually sure that the cash percentage will be lower on the Bills, because I actually lean to the Bills as it stands right now. Tampa Bay, they're coming off a tough game against the Patriots. People were hyping up that game. It was May versus Mayfield. You know, I know this is also a big quarterback matchup between Allen and Mayfield here, so it's 2 MVP candidates here again. But still, I think it could be a little bit of a hangover spot coming off that big game against New England. And now Tampa Bay has to travel up to Buffalo, which is a road out of conference games. So sometimes those games matter less on your schedule. I mean, they are the games that do matter less on your schedule, because when it comes down to the tiebreakers, those are the games that you need the least. Tampa does have a conference game up next against the Rams. So, I mean, I'm not saying they're going to overlook Buffalo. I don't think they will, but maybe they will actually take Buffalo a little bit less seriously because of what Buffalo looked like last week. But also, it's an unfamiliar venue for Tampa. It's the road out of conference game. That also kind of adds to why the home team in those games tends to do fairly well. Although I know last week I actually went against one of those home teams, and I had the Ravens against the Vikings. That was all about the spot. I thought the Vikings spot was terrible. Buffalo, I mean, you got to think they're in a bounce-back spot, man. I mean, that was just, everybody's talking about that game. That was just a horrendous game. Now they're getting trolled by the Dolphins. And as I just showed you, Buffalo actually outgained the Dolphins in that game. So it wasn't exactly what it looked like it was on the scoreboard. Although some of it was Buffalo just getting yardage and garbage time to do anything to try to catch up. But it's an ugly loss, man. And it was explainable, again, because Buffalo had that huge playoff revenge win against Kansas City. Buffalo always beats Kansas City in the regular season and loses in the playoffs. So it was explainable. They had to go down to Miami. It was sweltering heat in Miami. Now Buffalo's coming back home after an ugly loss. I think Buffalo does bounce back here. As far as the weather is concerned, it is going to be 40 degrees, so that might not be great for a team like Tampa Bay that likes to play in warm weather. So that is something to consider. Tampa Bay might get chilled out a little bit in this game. And yeah, I mean, that's basically all I have to say about this game. Yeah, lean to Buffalo as it stands right now. I'm going to be watching the market tomorrow morning. I'll do the final market read again on tomorrow morning's show, but we'll see. 4 hours, oh God, no. I will die if I do that. All right, next game up is Bengals-Steelers. This is an interesting one. The Steelers have dropped from a 6.5-point favorite to a 5.5-point favorite. Although these openers, I think, were actually the look-ahead. So these are actually the numbers the week before. So in these cases, I don't think it's actually the money coming into the market that's actually moving the lines. I think these line moves that you see here are, one was the look-ahead line, and then the current line is based off of after it reopened this week, which is a new market, and then it may have moved since then. So sometimes you want to fade like an overreaction here, because this can tell you what the overreaction was and not necessarily what the line actually did. 61% of the tickets are on the Steelers, 63% of the cash on the Bengals. So the Bengals actually look like they're taking the money here. Public looks like they expect the Steelers to bounce back. I'm probably going to lean with the money in this one and lean with the Cincinnati side. Cincinnati, I mean, their season is in dire straits here. I mean, they're 3-6. Basically, if they fall to 3-7, probably you're looking at them not making the playoffs. Don't know if Joe Burrow is coming back. I don't know what his status is. He's not coming back this week, obviously. He's participating in some practices now, practices without pads, so he's definitely weeks away still. So we're looking at Joe Flacco here, but Cincinnati just had a bye, and I think that's a positive because they went into that bye in a 2-game loss streak, including losing to the New York Jets and then losing to the Bears after Cincinnati made a huge comeback in the game, took the lead, and then blew it. So I think they had that bye at a good time. Again, when you go into the bye on a bad note, you use that bye to prepare, to fix some things. So I think this is a positive for Cincinnati. Now, yes, this is a revenge spot for Pittsburgh because Cincinnati did beat Pittsburgh on that Thursday night primetime game. Big Rodgers versus Flacco battle with the Cincinnati late drive to retake the lead and win in Cincinnati. So, yes, the divisional revenge is a thing. So, yes, that is a little bit maybe of a motivating factor for Pittsburgh. But Cincinnati's obviously going to be motivated here. Like, sometimes that revenge spot works because it's more so that the team that won the first game they don't take that team seriously again the next time they play them. But Cincinnati is going to take Pittsburgh seriously. I mean, Cincinnati's the underdog here. So I don't think that the revenge spot is a huge factor here. Pittsburgh, they had to play last week, and they had to travel off of beating Indianapolis. And I talked about how that was a misleading win over Indianapolis, even though I did pick Pittsburgh in my pick'ems. And I think I added them to my pick 5 as well, which I'm in the money right now. Hopefully it stays that way. Indianapolis had 6 turnovers in that game. I think Pittsburgh might have actually Indianapolis actually outgained Pittsburgh in the game. So that was part of my handicap last week. And Pittsburgh, bad spot, letdown spot after the Colts, after beating the Colts in a misleading way. They had to go out to the Pacific Coast for a night game. Not a good spot there for Pittsburgh. LA, I believe, had extra time off as well. The Chargers did, if I'm not mistaken. So it was a bad spot for Pittsburgh. They lost out at LA. Now they're coming back home, but this is basically 2 cross-country trips in 2 weeks for Pittsburgh, so I don't really love that. While Cincinnati was on bye, Pittsburgh was having to travel back from the Pacific time zone into, I think, the Eastern time zone here in Pittsburgh, I'm pretty sure. So I do not like the spot here for Pittsburgh. I mean, this is not a play for me, but I think the spot does set up better for Cincinnati, even though Pittsburgh would ideally like to get that revenge on the Bengals. And, of course, Pittsburgh could win and not cover as well here. But I'm going to lean to taking the points with Cincinnati. I also like the under because everybody's going to look at that first game and be like, oh, my God, it was 33-31, 64 points were scored, and you're looking at a total of 49 here. It looks way too easy to take the over. 70% of tickets on the over, but 56% of the cash on the under. So money's coming in on the under. I will agree with that as well. Maybe a little bit concerning because the Bengals' defense is atrocious, but and that also is a concern if you're taking the points of the Bengals. Their defense is terrible, but the Steelers' offense is not a particularly prolific offense. Let's just put it that way. And their defense actually hasn't been that great this year either. All right. Texans-Titans is one of my plays, so I'll stay off of that for now. I'll talk about it in a bit. Bears-Vikings, another divisional matchup, and this is another one that's a second matchup of the year, and there is a revenge component here where the Vikings did beat the Bills. Oh, excuse me, the Bears. The Vikings beat the Bears at Chicago early in the season. If you remember that, Vikings made a comeback in the game and won, and everybody was praising J.J. McCarthy, even though he wasn't even actually good in the game. He just did enough to lead his team back, but it was a lot. Like, the Vikings defense buckled down and played well. Caleb Williams just isn't that good, in my opinion, so although I don't think McCarthy is either, but there were a lot of reasons why the Vikings did win that one. Now, yes, it is a road revenge spot, and I talk about how if a divisional opponent loses at home in the first matchup, which the Bears did, on prime time nonetheless, so that might add more of a motivating factor to the Bears here. Usually it's good to look at that team as an underdog. If they're an underdog in the next game going to that opponent's venue, they're going to step up their game and play well as an underdog. So that would be one reason to look to the Bears here, but I actually do not in this game. 56% of tickets, 75% of the cash on Minnesota. So the money is coming in on Minnesota right now. They're a 3-point favorite. It looks like it might actually drop to 2.5 again. It's been kind of lingering 2.5 all week. So if you do like the Vikings, you might be able to still get the 2.5, or maybe you could play a money line. But looking at this game, this is a misleading spread because it's like, why are the Vikings favored when they're 4-5 and the Bears are 6-3? Vikings also are bad at home, 1-3 at home. Bears 3-2 on the road. So it looks really easy to take the points with Chicago, and I think it looks like some of the public are doing that, and I'm not going to buy into that. Again, Minnesota is actually I think they're the better team, and I think they probably get about 2 for home field, which is about the most that you get in the NFL. So I think the odds makers are still kind of indicating that they are the better team. There's a reason why they're favored here. I think Chicago, I think they're fraudulent, dude. I mean, yes, I have anti-Caleb Williams bias because I have just been saying he's not that good, but I just think I'm right. And the Bears, I mean, they've been coasting, man. I mean, they beat Dallas when Dallas was in a bad spot, and Dallas has a terrible defense. They beat the Raiders in a game where the Raiders outplayed them in basically every phase of the game, and the Bears somehow got a win at the end of that game with a blocked field goal coming into play at the end. Bears came out of a bye, and they did have a big quarterback revenge scenario against Washington, so they did get that win. But we know Washington, they've been pretty bad this year, man, so that win doesn't look that good. The Bears beat the Saints. I mean, that's not impressive either. They beat Cincinnati, who has a terrible defense and isn't really that good. And then last week, they beat the Giants in a game where there's no way the Bears would have beaten the Giants if Jackson Dart didn't get hurt. Dart got a concussion, and the Giants were winning the game 20-10 in that game, and then Dart got hurt. The Giants never scored again, and the Bears came back and won the game. Just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And I had the Giants at plus 3.5 on ESPN. They weren't in like my money pick 'em or anything, but on ESPN, the number was 3.5, so the Giants didn't even cover that for my pick on ESPN, which is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. But the Bears, their 6-3 record is very misleading. So, yeah, I just don't think the Bears are as good as they look right now. And meanwhile, for Minnesota actually needs the game more as well because they're sitting at 4-5. And I know sometimes that puts pressure on a team, but still, I think you might see Minnesota having a little bit more motivation here just because they need to play catch up. They're in last place in the division here, and I don't think they're actually the worst team in this division. I think the Bears are. So I think Minnesota does have incentive from that perspective. And Minnesota did take a loss last week against Baltimore, and that was expected because you remember I talked about that was a bad spot for Minnesota. I gave up Baltimore as a play in that game. Minnesota had just pulled off that big upset over Detroit in the return for McCarthy, and that was a play for me as well. So I've been the Minnesota whisperer. Actually, 3 weeks in a row I've been on their games, and I've been right every single time, right? I gave out a play on the Chargers against Minnesota in the Thursday night game. I gave out Minnesota against Detroit, and I gave out Baltimore last week against Minnesota. So I've been whispering hard on the Vikings, although I'm not giving out a play this week on the Vikings game here. But, yeah, I mean, they're zigzagging. They've been one of those teams that you like to handicap, man, because they abide by these, like, patterns that you see where they zigzag. They play well, then they don't play well, then they play well again. You know, they get into a letdown spot, they don't play well, which is what I think happened last week. And I think they were looking ahead to the Chicago game too. I just think they didn't have as much focus on an AFC team like Baltimore, and Baltimore needed the game even a little bit more because Baltimore started the season so bad. So, yeah, I mean, I think Minnesota got caught in a sandwich there. I think part of that was that they were looking ahead to this game. I agree with Minnesota on this one. Not a play for me, though. Panthers, Falcons. Falcons have gone up from a 3.5-point favorite to a 4-point favorite. 75% of tickets on the Falcons. 54% of the cash coming back on the Panthers. So the money is coming in on the Panthers. this is yet another divisional matchup where there's a revenge component. The Panthers, which was one of my wins earlier in the season, the Panthers beat the Falcons in Carolina 30-0. So yes, the Falcons, they're going to remember that. And that was such an embarrassing loss that you got to think that they should remember that and be motivated here. However, I'm probably going to agree with the market in this one and side with taking the points with Carolina. I mean, it's not a play for me, but because I do think there is still that revenge component for Atlanta. But Carolina, they lost last week to the New Orleans Saints, man. I mean, that was ugly. I talked about how that was almost a play for me last week. It made my money pick 5, where Carolina beat Green Bay the week before that, and that was a play for me. Where I told you that Green Bay was in a sandwich spot there. Green Bay had that game surrounded by much bigger games. Carolina pulled off the outright upset, and then I think Carolina was in a bad spot coming off that. They were in a letdown spot. They had an ugly game against New Orleans, and now after losing to New Orleans at home, which is about the worst thing you could do this year, I think Carolina will bounce back in a way and show up for this one. They were really bad, though. New Orleans actually dominated Carolina in this game. Yardage 388 to 175. I mean, that is bad. That is a red flag, man. And New Orleans had a ton of penalties. Carolina only had 1. And Carolina still lost the game. So that isn't a good sign. Like, Carolina's sitting at 5-5, and laughably, they were actually 5-4 prior to that. They're not that good. Carolina is still pretty much a bottom dweller. But all that being said, I do think this is a bounce-back spot for them here, and I think they will show up for a divisional game against Atlanta. I do think Atlanta's going to try to show up. Atlanta had a big game last week, though, in Berlin against Indianapolis, and they took Indy to overtime in that game, and I believe I had Atlanta. In ESPN, it was 5.5, even though the number went off at 6.5. So the people that got plus 6.5 won on the Falcons plus the points, and in ESPN, the 5.5 was a loss. I mean, yeah, a couple of my losses last week in Pick'em were just so what's the word I'm looking for? Maddening, I guess. Not John Madden. I should have a John Madden drop right now. But yeah, I mean, this could be a difficult spot, man. And now Atlanta is having to travel back from Berlin. They opted to not take the bye here. And I did talk about, prior to this season, teams coming back from those Europe games because they have the option to not take the bye. Like, the league will give them a bye after that, but the team can request to not have that bye and have it at a different time. And before this season, I'm pretty sure, I mean, I have to go back and look, but I'm pretty sure because I talked about it, teams opting to not take the bye actually showed up in those games because that basically tells you that they actually wanted to be there and play in that game, and they actually did surprisingly well. But this year, that has not been the case. This year, 3 teams have done that this year, and they've all failed to cover the spread. And 2 of them, unfortunately, were plays for me. With Cleveland did it against Pittsburgh. Denver did it against the Giants. That was a spot where the Giants were in a Philadelphia cheesesteak sandwich that time, and Denver still not only couldn't cover, but Denver had to score 33 points in the 4th quarter to win that game. Denver basically had no business winning that game. And then the third one was, what was the third one? So Denver did win at least, but they were the only team that actually won. Oh, the third one was, no, I was going to say it was the Jets. No, yeah, it was the Jets, I think. Yeah, after that Jets-Denver game, I think the Jets did play as well, and they lost, I believe, to Dallas, I want to say. Whatever it was. The teams coming back from the Europe games that play right away, they're 0-3 against the spread this year, and they're 1-2 straight up, with the only win being that ridiculous Denver comeback as a big favorite. So keeping that in mind, I will lean to taking the points with Carolina in this one. I don't want to give it out as a play. London is questionable. You mean London, the city, is questionable? I mean, that's true. That's true, because I would not want to go there. It's being infested by people from foreign nations, let's say, that are committing crimes. I don't want to get this channel nuked, but that is what's going on there. But yes, Drake London might be questionable, so keep an eye on that. He's definitely a difference maker. He's one of the better wide receivers in the league. Yes, correct. Drake London. Yeah, we'll see if he plays or not. I know he missed one of the games I think it might have been the game against Miami where he didn't play. I forget. He missed one of these games though. I'm pretty sure it was that one because you don't see him on the stat sheet here as the top receiver. Although that was just an ugly game with Kirk Cousins in there, so nobody really got any receiving yards. All right, to finish the 1 p.m. slate, Chargers, Jaguars. Chargers were a 1-point favorite. It looks like on the look ahead they were a 1-point favorite, and now they're a 3-point favorite. So it's gone on to this key number 3, and I think this is all entirely based off of last week, where everybody saw the Chargers beat Pittsburgh. People saw the Jaguars lose to Houston, and now all of a sudden the Chargers are a 3-point favorite. I'm not going to buy it. I like the Jaguars in this one. I mean, this one, it hasn't made one of my plays, but I would take the points of the Jags here. 74% of tickets, only 64% of the cash on the Chargers. So they are public with less of the money on them. I think you could argue this is a letdown spot for the Chargers here, as they did just have a big win over Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers. I think they consider that to be a big win. It was a primetime game Sunday night. So I think that is big. And now the Chargers are having to travel to the Eastern time zone, where the Chargers have done that twice this year, and they have not done well. They're 0-2 against the spread traveling to the Eastern time zone, losing outright to the Giants. That was a play for me in that game. Jackson Dart's debut, and that was a bad spot for the Chargers. They were coming off a big win over Denver as well. And then they didn't do well against Miami either. They won. They had to win with a late score at the end of that game. They almost lost to Miami, and they did not cover. And then they did play at Tennessee. Is Tennessee in the Eastern time zone? I forget if they're Eastern or Central. I think they're in, Nashville. So is that Central? I don't even know. But the Chargers didn't cover that game either. They won, but they didn't cover. So the Chargers, road games going east, the Chargers have failed to cover all of them. The only road game they've covered was against the Raiders in the Pacific time zone in Vegas. So the Chargers have not done well. They've been a road favorite in all these games where they've traveled east as well, and they've failed to cover all of them. They do have a game against Vegas. Well, they have a bye, and then they have a divisional game against Vegas. I don't know if Vegas is really going to be a look ahead, though, because they're so bad, and the Chargers already easily beat them once. But maybe they'll be looking forward to this bye. Jacksonville, they're coming off a pretty misleading loss, dude, I think. Although, actually, let me see. Actually, I think Houston did actually outgain them, so I don't think it was actually entirely misleading. Let me see. Yeah, Houston actually dominated them. Houston actually outgained them by 200 yards. So the fact that Jacksonville was winning the game by so much was a little bit misleading. A lot of penalties in this game. Although Houston converted a ton of third downs in the game. 10 for 15. Ridiculous third down rate for Houston in this game. But even though Houston outgained them, I think a lot of it was outgained them by a ton. A lot of it, I think, was because Houston had to make a huge comeback. Jacksonville was beating them 29-10. 29-10 into the fourth quarter. Oops. What did that do? I don't know. ESPN's UI is weird, man. Oh, I think it just brings up the scoring play on the right side or something. Anyway, Jacksonville was winning this game 29-10 in the going into the fourth quarter here. And then Houston came all the way back and won the game. They were winning by 1 after they failed the 2-point conversion. So I think some people had -1.5. And then what happened? Oh, yeah, they had a fumble 6 with no time left to actually cover the -1.5 and make sure they covered every number. Insane. Houston scored 26 points in the fourth quarter, and Jacksonville didn't score any. I think Jacksonville's going to be pretty angry after that, man. So I expect Jacksonville to show up in this game. They get the Chargers at home. I think they're going to be focused on this. Jacksonville, they've been pretty good at home, actually. They gave up one of their home games to play in London because that is what always happens with Jacksonville. They were forced to by the league, which is total BS. But Jacksonville's 3-1 in their home games, man. They beat Carolina, Houston. I know those are not totally impressive wins, although Houston's better than their record looks right now. And they beat Kansas City, remember, although it was kind of on that weird fluke play, which was the, what was it? The, what do we want to call it? The mistake, what is it? It's stumble bum when Ben Johnson would call it for the Lions. It was the the accidental stumble bum, let's call it that, where Trevor Lawrence fell down and it was not intentional. And then he got into the end zone for the win anyway. Crazy win. That was good for me because I gave out Jacksonville as a play in that game. But the point is, Jacksonville's been better at home. Their only loss at home was in the letdown spot coming off that big Monday night game against Kansas City. Huge win. They had to play at home again right away, and they lost to Seattle. And Seattle's been playing pretty well, so that's Jacksonville's only home loss. So they've been better at home, without a doubt. So, yeah, I think you could take the points with them at home. They've also only been a home underdog once, and it was that Kansas – or no, maybe twice. I don't remember if Seattle was favored or not in that game, but the only game where they were at home and they were an underdog of this magnitude was against Kansas City. They were like a 3.5-point underdog. That also is kind of odd, right? Because Kansas City was a 3 or 3.5-point favorite in that game, and now LA is a 3-point favorite. The Chargers are a 3-point favorite against. So the odds makers are basically telling you the Chargers are as good as the Chiefs, and I don't think that's quite true. I think at this point you gotta say that the Chiefs are slightly better than the Chargers. So the line does look a little bit high from that respect as well. So yeah, I would take the points with the Jags in that game. All right, Seahawks Rams. This is going to be a huge game. Going into the 4:05 Eastern slate here, or the 4 p.m. slate, because some of the games are at 4:25. A lot of big games get scheduled in this window. 50% of the tickets are on the Seahawks, and 55% of the cash on the Rams, and the Rams are up from 3 to bordering on being a 3.5-point favorite. So if you like the Rams, hopefully you can get a 3 of some kind here, or maybe money line or money line parlay in some way, because the money is seemingly coming in on the Rams side, and I don't disagree with it. I think the Rams are still going to be of the mindset, like, hey, we're the staple in this division. Like, who are these Seahawks? Like, all of a sudden, Sam Darnold comes over here, and all of a sudden, they're like a threat to win this division. I think the Rams are going to be of the mindset, like, we're going to show you who actually is still the boss of this division. It is still us. Like, go away, new guy. I think the Rams are going to be in that mindset. Yes, the Seahawks have been good this year, but I'm going to show you the schedule in a minute. Seahawks have played a pretty weak schedule so far, man. And this could be the game where Sam Darnold turns into a pumpkin, man, because you remember what happened last year. Sam Darnold, he had these, like, big step-up games, and there were certain games, like, right at the end of the season where the pressure just became too much for him, and he got wrecked. And that was the game against Detroit, which is a huge divisional game that basically determined the division and the 1 seed at the end of the season. And then who was the other team that gave Sam Darnold all those problems in the playoffs, by the way, which wound up being a play for me on this show? I gave out a play on that game. Yeah, it was the Rams. It was the Rams defense with Sean McVay. They made Sam Darnold look horrible in that playoff game, and it was in this stadium at LA. So it could be a repeat, man. I know that this is the Seahawks offense now, not the Vikings offense from last year, but Sean McVay, he might have some tricks up his sleeve, man. He might know what to do against Sam Darnold based on that game. Sam Darnold was horrific in that game against the Rams last year. Luckily for me, because, again, it was a play for me on my show. That was, if you go to my YouTube channel, that was the chiropractic bet. That was the precursor to my Instagram videos. I gave out that play on the fly because I decided to make that play last minute. And I was lying on my hardwood floor. So go check that out. Proof that I gave it out as a play, baby. Everything's proven on this. Everything's documented on this channel. Now, both of these teams are coming off blowout wins. The Seahawks blew out Arizona, which is definitely going to be seen as less good than LA, the Rams blowing out the 49ers last week, because everybody knows the 49ers are better than Arizona. So I would think that the public would put more weight into the Rams win, but the public looks like they're on the Seahawks hype a little bit, man. They've just been a hype this year. The public they love the novelty of this. Like, the public is just, I think they're kind of just sick of the Rams. Like, yeah, the Rams are Matthew Stafford. They're always here, whatever. The public likes, like, Seattle's like their shiny new toy. Seattle and the Patriots are like the two shiny new toys this year, man. And I don't see either of them getting through, like, the playoffs or whatever once they get there, because they're both probably going to be in the playoffs. Now, as far as Seattle's concerned, yeah, they're coming off a blowout win. So are the Rams. The Rams win was probably a little bit bigger. because Seattle getting the season sweep of Arizona, they're probably not going to consider that to be that big of a deal. I mean, they were a big favorite against Arizona. I was kind of surprised, though, that Arizona didn't play very well in this game because I thought Arizona might have a chance. I thought they were going to cover this. But if you look at the stats, Seattle did not outgain Arizona by that much in this game, so it wasn't as much of a blowout as it looked like on the scoreboard. Seattle had 2 fumble return touchdowns in the game, by the way, that put the game almost out of reach early. They were up 28-0, and it was partially because of 2 fumble return touchdowns. So that really swung the game. So that was a misleading final result on the scoreboard. But if you look at Seattle, look at Seattle's wins this year, man, and tell me if this is really that impressive. They beat Pittsburgh, who that's one of their best wins, Pittsburgh on the road, and I don't think Pittsburgh is as good as they looked. They beat New Orleans at home, Arizona on the road, Jacksonville on the road, and when Jacksonville was in a huge letdown spot after beating Kansas City. They beat Houston at home on Monday night. I mean, Houston, yeah, they're a good defense at least. Washington on the road, and Arizona again. I mean, this is not that strong of a schedule for Seattle here, man. Like, the Rams are actually going to be the best team they've faced all season, I would say. The 2 best teams that Seattle has faced this year, by the way, are San Francisco and Tampa Bay, and Seattle lost both of those games at home to San Francisco and Tampa Bay. So, and I think the Rams are better than both of those teams. So that's I think that is definitely an indicator of where you should go in this game. Seattle has not stepped up well in class when they've tried to do it. And again, their schedule's been so weak that the Rams are going to be the best team they've faced so far. And for the Rams also beat Houston already. They played the Eagles, Indianapolis. They've already played San Francisco twice, whereas Seattle's only played them once. And the Rams played Baltimore and Jacksonville. So both teams played Jacksonville as well, I think. And both teams beat them. The Rams beat them more impressively, although that was in London, but still they destroyed them. And I know the Rams beat Baltimore without Lamar Jackson. I get it, but the Ravens, I mean, they're not a bad team, all right? So on the road, that's still a pretty good win for the Rams. The Rams have faced a more difficult schedule. Both teams are going to show up for this. I don't think there's going to be a letdown component, even though I know the Rams got a nice big road revenge win against the 49ers. That was a big win. So I would consider it to be a letdown spot if this was a different opponent that they were facing. But come on, man, it's Seattle. This is for first place in the NFC West right now. Huge game for both teams. In that situation, you want to lean to the better team. That's going to be the Rams, unless we see something otherwise. So Rams will be my opinion in that game. It's not a play for me, though. Yes, I have the receipts. I got the receipts, baby. Frank Costanza, I'm back, baby. Yeah, I want to get some Seinfeld drops here. I'll try to get some of those. Yeah. Let Toad cook. That should. I'll bring up the old Toad weenie roast from Tower Gang. That graphic with the sizzling sound. Actually, I think do we still have that? Let me see. I think I have to switch to Tower Gang, but hang on. This might change the entire branding. Hang on. Oh, my God. I think it did. Oh, crap. Hold on. It changed to the Tower Gang branding, but I think it's in here. Let me see. Let me see if I can find it. I just want to go back to it and play it. Where's it at? Oh, man, I missed Tower Gang. Is it here? It's got to be here. Tyler used to do this. Yeah, there it is, baby. All right. Back to the branding. And it brings up my screen again when I go back to the branding. How about that? Bring back Tower Gang, baby. All right. What else do we have going on here? We have 49ers Cardinals, so all the teams in the NFC West are playing each other. 49ers are up from, the look ahead was a 1-point favorite on the 49ers. Now it's 3.5. So probably a little bit of an overreaction here for the 49ers, man. And I think it's an overreaction to the quarterback situation and maybe just to the Cardinals looking bad. But both of these teams look bad last week. But I think the Cardinals losing to the Seahawks is probably looks worse than the 49ers losing to the Rams. I think they almost lost by the same score, too. There were two 44-22 finals last week, which is weird. One of them was, I think, the Seahawks Cardinals, and the other was Detroit and Washington. And then the 49ers lost to the Rams, I think, like 42-26 or something. So all of those games had the same total, I think, too, which is very strange. Landed on the same total, I should say. 49ers are very public in this game. 83% of tickets, only 59% of the cash. So you know me, I mean, based on that market read, I'm going to be leaning towards taking the points with the Cardinals. Now, this was going to be a 1-point favorite for the 49ers here. That's what the line was going to be. But now Brock Purdy is coming back finally for the 49ers. And now all of a sudden that means they're a 3.5-point favorite. I don't like that, man. I think it's an overreaction. This is a reverse injured player spot where, again, I always talk about this. When the star player comes back, if you even want to call Purdy a star, the line's going to over-adjust to him coming back, and the team might take their foot off the gas, although I know they lost last week, so maybe they won't do that, but they might, just kind of ease up a little bit, being like, all right, our guy's back, here we go. But also they have to get back into the rhythm with Purdy, right? So I think it takes a little while for the team to re-gel with that guy that's been out for so long. So I don't like this. And I've never been a huge fan of Purdy. I don't think he's that good. I think it's kind of that the team's very well coached. He's got a lot of talent around him on the offense. I think that has something to do with it. Mac Jones was not that bad filling in for him, man. The 49ers, they have a winning record right now. Jones has been playing pretty well, and there is an argument that Jones has been playing better than Brock Purdy. So adjusting this line pretty much just because Brock Purdy is coming back, I don't buy it. So, yeah, I would take the points with Arizona here. It is also revenge because the 49ers did beat Arizona, but it was a really close 1-point win in an ugly 16-15 game in San Francisco back in week 3. So, yes, it is technically revenge for Arizona, but will both teams really show up for this? I don't know, because San Francisco, the game against the Rams meant more, although San Francisco, yeah, they still have to win against teams in their division, but Arizona's the bottom dweller in the division right now, man. So San Francisco, it is possible they don't totally take Arizona seriously. San Francisco, they're having to do a lot of travel here, too. If you look at what has happened here, they don't have the bye until week 14, and I know they have a pretty easy remaining schedule here, so I expect San Francisco probably will be in the playoffs, but and Purdy, they'll probably get used to Purdy coming back, and they'll probably start winning some games here, especially against a bunch of bad teams that they face. Arizona's one of them, and I think they might lose this game, but they do face Carolina, Cleveland, Tennessee in their next 3 games, so there is that. 49ers, though, this is going to be their 5th road game in 7 weeks. Going back to October 2nd, they were at L.A., then they went all the way across the country to Tampa Bay, had to fly back home to face Atlanta. Then they had to go out to Houston. Then I don't know if they came back home or not, but then they went to the New York Giants. Then they had to come back home again. So they have at least 3, maybe 4 cross-country trips in here, plus 1 to Texas. And now they got to go back out to Arizona. It's kind of a brutal travel situation for San Francisco here, man. So I don't like that either. And for Arizona, I will still repeat what happened, what I talked about last week. Prior to last week, Arizona, every one of their losses was close prior to last week. They had lost by 1, 3, 1, 4, and 4 prior to losing by 22 last week. And it was misleading again because Seattle had 2 defensive touchdowns in the game. So Arizona has been close in all of their losses. So that's another reason to maybe look towards taking the points with Arizona here. And as far as San Francisco against the Rams last week, the Rams dominated them yardage-wise, I'm pretty sure. So it wasn't really that misleading. Oh, no, I'm wrong. Holy crap. I should take that back. Man, I got to get my stuff straight because I look at all these games beforehand and then I lose track of it in my mind. But, yeah, I'm wrong. The Rams did have a lot more first downs. They outpossessed them, too, but the Rams only outgained them by 8 yards. But maybe it was because San Francisco was playing comeback and getting a lot of late yards there. But yeah, I lean to Arizona in that one. Okay. Man, all right, I got to get more water here as well. So Patrick Tillman, yeah, that's right. So yeah, which one do we consider to be the well? Last week was really the Veterans Day weekend, right? And Arizona was not able to do it for them, but maybe that they're back home. Maybe they'll do something for them. I don't know. I'm gonna have one situation where there is a situation on the board this week where I'm gonna rely on that as part of the handicap, though. A team stepping up their game for a death, which you probably know what that means if you've been following. If you've been following football, you probably know what team that is. Yeah, Kardashian was playing comeback. All right, 1 second, I'll be back. You guys can stare at the rest of this board here. I know it's pretty. All right, 1 second.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game. Another game.
All right. This game that's on right now, crazy that BYU was blowing out TCU. I did not expect that type of a bounce back from BYU, man. Still think BYU is massively overrated. Going to be looking to fade them hard if they make the playoffs in college football. All right. Neyland. Who's Neyland? What? Yes. Maybe. All right. Ravens, Browns. Oh, man, so many games here. What's going on? Ravens are a pretty big road favorite here. They're up from an 8-point favorite to a 9-point favorite now at Cleveland. 78% of tickets, 79% of the cash on the Ravens. But this is a total. It's down to 38.5. Money coming in on the under. So this is expected to be a pretty low-scoring game. If that's the case, I mean, I think you got to look towards taking the points in this game if you play it. If it's expected to be low scoring and you're getting that many points with the home team, Cleveland, they're probably going to show up. I mean, it's a lost season for Cleveland, but we know they lost 41-17 on the road already against Baltimore. So this is a divisional revenge spot where I actually agree with leaning towards that side. This game, Cleveland actually outgained Baltimore in this game, 323-242. Cleveland actually just had 2 turnovers in the game, and there were some fluke touchdowns at the end of the game. So this was a very misleading final score. The game was, I believe, 24-10, 20-10. I think it might have been 20-10 in the fourth quarter or something like that. So that first game between Cleveland and Baltimore was not what it seemed to be. Cleveland's coming off an ugly loss to the Jets last week, so it's going to be a bounce-back spot, I think, for Cleveland here. And this was also misleading, as the Jets had a kickoff return touchdown and then a punt return touchdown almost right away in the game. So this was a misleading result as well here, with the Jets getting the job done. Cleveland outgained the Jets 278-169 and lost this game. So this was a misleading result as well. I think Cleveland's going to be pretty angry that they lost to the Jets. Maybe even they started looking ahead to the Ravens here. This is going to be one of the games that Cleveland still will get up for, man. I mean, you've seen how the Browns play. Like, they're a dead team, like, late in the season. The games they get up for are these divisional games. They'll get up for, like, basically this is just a rule with any team that's, like, not going anywhere in a season. The games that they'll get up for are divisional games and primetime games. Basically, that's the rule. Like, those are the games where they might actually still bring focus, and this is one of those, obviously. They're going to show up against the Ravens here, man. Ravens don't really have anything upcoming, but they are playing a third straight road game at least, so that's a little bit of a concern for the Ravens. And they had a bye prior to that, so they're actually literally playing 3 straight road games at Miami and then up in Minnesota and now down to Cleveland. So, yeah, I would take the points with the Browns if I was going to play it. The Cowboys player, he shot himself in a porta potty, because that's how you want to go out, right? Maybe there was something else actually going on there, because who is going to do that in a porta potty? Like, is that the last thing? Like, I heard it was clean, at least. It was a porta potty that smelled of chemicals, which I think meant that it was clean. I don't know. Like, it hadn't been recently used. No idea. But who's gonna do that? Like, if you're gonna, end your life or whatever, dude, I don't want to get this channel nuked, this show nuked, whatever. But if you're gonna do that, why would you choose to do it in a porta potty? I think there's something weird going on there. All right, Chiefs Broncos, huge game. In the 425 slate here, 66% of tickets, 73% of the cash on the Chiefs, who were going to be a 2.5 or 3-point favorite, basically, and now they're already 4 with juice. So the actual money is coming in on the Chiefs in this game. I could see this being an under, because you're looking at 2 good defenses here. I do think the Chiefs are the team that has the better offense, though. I mean, I think that goes without saying. I mean, there's a reason why they're favored on the road. Broncos, their offense is pretty bad, to be honest. The Broncos, very, very good defensively, but the Chiefs are right up there defensively as well. And the Chiefs are a more balanced team because they can actually play offense. So I do agree with the money here. I would lean to the Chiefs. I don't really want to lay 4 on the road, though. Broncos are 5-0 at home. They've been good at home. Got to give them that. And the Chiefs have been ugly on the road, 1-3. So there is a home-road dichotomy there that would tell you maybe to look towards taking the points of the Broncos. Pacheco is out in this game for the Chiefs, by the way, but I don't think that really matters because they don't run the football well anyway. So whoever fills in for him, Kareem Hunt, I guess, whoever will still be okay, I think. But the Chiefs do like a lot of short passing to make up for the rushing anyway, so I don't think that really matters. The Chiefs are also coming out of a bye here, and I know everybody's going to be saying Andy Reid, he's really good off of a bye. That is true. He has a really good record coming off of a bye. They went into the bye on a bad note, losing to Buffalo, so I think they had a bye at a good time, so I think that is a helpful bye for Kansas City. I mean, they're going to show up because it's Denver. But also, looking at these teams' records, 8-2 Denver at home. Why would the 5-4 Chiefs be favored on the road? So the line, it looks like one of those misleading lines, right? Where you think that the public would actually almost start coming in on Denver here because they're 8-2. They're like the other shiny new toy, even though they're in their second season with Bo Nix. But I think Bo Nix has been worse this year than last year because the league has kind of figured him out and figured out what this offense is going to try to do. Denver did lose their running back too, Dobbins, so they're going to be probably going with R.J. Harvey for the rest of the season. Not great for me because I initially drafted him in fantasy, and then he was not getting enough reps in games, so I had to get rid of him because I had running back injuries, and I couldn't have a guy that wasn't going to get that many reps in my lineup. I could not predict that Dobbins would get hurt, man, so that sucks. So what can you do? But yeah, I mean, it does look like a misleading line because you have the team with the worst record being a pretty substantial favorite on the road. Odds makers are telling you the Chiefs are the better team. Right now, the Chiefs, I think, have the best odds to win the Super Bowl, even though they're 5-4, which is ridiculous. But the odds makers know something, man. Again, I know everybody mentions the Andy Reid coming out of a bye thing, but it is just true. So, I mean, I think that is another reason to look towards the Chiefs here, even though everybody's talking about it. He knows how to get his team ready out of a bye, and that just is what it is. Denver, they did look ugly last week, and they do have some extra time as well because they played on Thursday. They beat the Raiders in a horrifically ugly game, 10-7. So that does set this up as a positive spot for Denver. So I do think both teams are certainly going to show up for this game. They're both in positive spots. Maybe the public is off Denver a little bit just because they looked so bad in that game against the Raiders, whereas Kansas City didn't have the opportunity to look bad because they went into a bye. But the public's not really going to knock Kansas City much for losing to Buffalo because they consider Buffalo to be good, obviously, and they are. So from that respect, like basically looking at what these teams did last, yeah, I could see maybe the argument for taking the points with Denver here, but I still think the bye is helpful to the Chiefs. I still think the market read means something, and the fact that it's a misleading line does mean something as well. So I would probably lay it with the Chiefs if I was going to play it, but laying that many points on the road against this good defense is not something I really want to do. So probably more to it, yeah. And then Lions-Eagles finish off the Sunday slate and the Sunday night game. This is a good primetime game. Two good teams. An NFC battle here. Eagles were going to be a 1-point favorite. Now they're a 3-point favorite. And the Lions are a pretty public underdog here. And you know I warn against public underdogs that you pretty much want to look to fade them. Because, you know, in that case, you're actually getting a good team because they're favored. Usually you're getting a good team. In this case, obviously you are because both teams are good. But the public is jumping in on the underdog there. And usually you do want to fade that if the money is saying otherwise. 72% of tickets, only 69% of the cash on the Lions. So the Lions are pretty heavily public here. And of course, everybody's going to love what they see out of the Lions recently. Basically just because last week they put up 44 against Washington, while Philadelphia looked really, really bad in that Green Bay game. So everybody saw that primetime game, and Philadelphia looked so bad offensively. The public is just going to come in on Detroit. I mean, Detroit just scored 44 points, man. And meanwhile, Philadelphia, they only scored 10 in an ugly 10-7 game. 2 10-7 primetime games last week. What is up with that? Denver and the Raiders and Eagles, Green Bay. 2 10-7 games, just ridiculous. But anyway, the public, they're going to see that and be like, oh my God, Detroit scored 44 and Philly only scored 10. Like, they're going to just automatically play Detroit because of that pretty much. So I would not do it. I would lean to the Eagles in this game and agree with the market read here. And you can kind of explain why the Eagles were pretty lackluster in that last game, although I know Green Bay was bad too. But I gave out Green Bay as a play in that game. And the Eagles, I thought they had a bye at a bad time because they had gone into the bye on a winning note. And, I thought that was going to disrupt their momentum, which it looks like it did. It's just that Green Bay didn't hold up their end of the bargain because I thought Green Bay was absolutely going to bounce back from that horrible loss to Carolina, and that didn't happen. But anyway, that does explain why Philadelphia might not have played well in that game. The only thing is Detroit, but everybody's going to be talking about this. Dan Campbell, I believe, is 11-2 straight up in primetime games as the coach of the Lions, which is pretty ridiculous if you think about it. 11-2 in primetime games. So that's not something I love the idea of fading, even though I will lean to the Eagles here, at least for now. I mean, we'll talk about it again in the morning. I'll do my final market read. But Detroit this year, they played 3 primetime games, by the way. They won at Baltimore on Monday night back in week 3. They actually lost one of them in a Sunday night game, and this is a Sunday night game as well. They lost at Kansas City on a Sunday night game. And then they won on a Monday night game against Tampa Bay right after that. So they're 2-1 in their primetime games this year, which is not as good as 11-2, obviously, but still. One of those 2 losses was this year at Kansas City. So just something to keep in mind. Probably a slight lean to Philadelphia for me in that one, as I said. All right, best bets time, because one of them is on the Monday night game as well. And we did already give out an extra one on the Washington side. We'll see how that one does. I mean, man, that is horrendous. Okay, so Washington's already one of them. We got a couple more, and this is going to be one of those weeks, man, where we got some real ugly ones in here. The first one up is why I'm wearing this jersey, because I'm offending all of the Tennessee people by wearing the Titans colors, because remember, the Titans are the Oilers, and Houston, the Texans decided to troll them by creating these alternate jerseys with Oiler colors. I just like the colors. Like, I like the Titans and I liked the Oilers because of their colors, but I'm getting this Houston with that Houston jersey with these colors as well, just to just to troll them a little bit. Why not? But we're going with Tennessee in this one, man. So we're going against my Houston jersey here. We're going to take the 6. I know you could have gotten 7.5 in this one on the look ahead, but I don't know if the market this week actually opened up at 7.5 or 6 or whatever, because there was a question as to whether or not C.J. Stroud, this dude right here, whether he was going to come back in this game. He is not. So it's going to be Davis Mills again, and that is why the line is 6 and not 7. I think it was going to be at least 7.5. It was probably going to be higher than that if Stroud was going to play, but that's also pretty interesting because remember the Texans played the Titans earlier this year, and if you remember what the line was in that game, it was at Houston. Houston was a 7-point favorite at home against the Titans with C.J. Stroud playing. Now you're telling me the Texans are almost the same level of favorite on the road with a backup quarterback? Really? I think that this line is out of control, dude. Again, Texans were a 7-point favorite with Stroud at home. And yes, they won 26-0 or whatever. But have we seen enough to say that line should have been that much higher? Now you're looking at the Texans being almost the same amount of a favorite on the road with Davis Mills in there. I don't think so. I think this line should be closer to like 4.5. I mean, that just seems ridiculous. Texans are public, obviously. The public is never going to play the Titans. I mean, the Titans have done nothing. Like, I think the Titans have covered like once, maybe twice all season. So I know we're playing on a team that has been one of the worst teams against the spread in the league. I get it. But I think this is a spot to do it. 68% of the tickets, only 63% of the cash on the Texans. So they're public with less of the money coming in on them. Yes, the Texans did dominate Jacksonville on the stat sheet last week, but the Texans were still losing this game 29-10 in the fourth quarter. So it took a huge effort from them at the end of the game, huge comeback from the Texans. Big game, and they put in a big effort. And remember, that was the injured player theory game too, because C.J. Stroud got knocked out of their game against Denver late in the game. So Davis Mills' first start for him this season was the one against Jacksonville. So you know that means that Houston was going to get up for that game because they knew they had to play harder for the injured player. And you know that also means that in the second game with him, they're usually going to take a little bit of a step back, man. So I think that's what we're going to see here. Second game with Davis Mills as quarterback. This offense is going to be worse than it is with C.J. Stroud. So you're asking Davis Mills to cover on the road as a pretty substantial favorite. I don't like that. And the total in this game is low, down to 37. I think it's the lowest total on the board as well. So you're also taking the points when they're basically at a premium because the total's so low. You're expecting this game to be very low scoring. So I like that idea as well. Also, again, Houston did already beat Tennessee 26-0. So Houston might not take Tennessee seriously because they shut them out earlier this season, and Tennessee's been so bad that I don't think any team is really going to take them seriously at this point. So I think Houston might just completely overlook them. Tennessee, they're going to try to get up for this game and maybe a little bit of extra motivation just because they got absolutely embarrassed when they played Houston earlier this year. And again, Houston, I think they're actually in a sandwich. So not only are they in a letdown spot, and they're coming off multiple big games in a row, man. I mean, look at this schedule since they came out of the bye. Houston had to go to the Pacific Coast and play a Monday night game against Seattle. They came back home and played the 49ers. They played Denver. And then they played a divisional game against Jacksonville. Now they go on the road to face Tennessee. And by the way, they have not been on the road for almost a month since that Seattle game. And by the way, they have not been as good on the road. Houston on the road lost at the Rams, lost at Jacksonville, won at Baltimore, but that was Baltimore without C.J. Stroud. And then, or Baltimore without Lamar Jackson. Oh, my God. C.J. Stroud was there. Baltimore was without Lamar Jackson. Excuse me. And they lost at Seattle on the road. So Houston is 1-3 on the road. Haven't been very good on the road, even though I know this is a more familiar environment to go into in Tennessee. But they're coming off that divisional win, off of a string of big games in a row. Haven't been on the road for about a month. And look what they have to do next. They have to turn around and play the Buffalo Bills in like 4 days, man, because they got Thursday primetime against Buffalo. So I think this is a sandwich spot as well. It's a look-ahead spot, man. I think they're going to be looking ahead to that game against Buffalo. And then they get Indy and the Chiefs after that as well. Chiefs also a primetime game. Those are 3 big games in a row coming up after this, man. So I think this is a game where Houston's going to overlook Tennessee. And let's make it even better for Tennessee here, because Tennessee is coming out of a bye. And what better time to have a bye than when you're a terrible team like Tennessee and you've lost 4 games in a row? Yeah, go into a bye and start fixing some things, baby. So I think that bye came at a good time for Tennessee. Losing a bunch of games, that bye can help you out, man. When you go into the bye on a bad note, you're going to work on things. You're going to fix things. Yeah, I think Tennessee will do enough to cover this number, as ridiculous as that sounds. Tennessee, I think, has actually covered 3 times this year. They covered on the road against Denver, barely by like a half point in the first week. They covered, obviously, against Arizona on the road. They won the game outright. And then they covered their most recent game. They actually covered against the Chargers. So they've covered 3 times. So that's not as bad as I thought. Coming in within that number, I mean, the games that they've covered were all pretty big spreads that were kind of similar in magnitude to this one as well. They were all slightly higher than this one, but even so, we'll take Tennessee. I know it's horrendous. I know it's ugly. That's what we do here, man. We're going to continue being ugly here, but yeah, that situation sets up really nicely for Tennessee, in my opinion. Next up, let's continue the ugliness, man. Giants +7. Let's go, babe. I should have worn my Jackson Dart jersey again for this to try to will him back, because he's not back. He's not playing in this game, which is why this line is where it is. We're fading the Packers here. Packers are a 7-point favorite. It looks like you might even be able to get 7.5 on this, because it's 7 with juice. So I would maybe market watch for a little bit and see if you can get the 7.5. Don't lose the 7, though. Like, you don't want to have to take 6.5 on this. You can get at least 7, maybe 7.5. We'll see. I'm going to change these in the YouTube description based on what I see, because if I'm telling you to, watch the market a little bit, we'll see if we can get the better numbers on these. Looks like maybe you won't be able to get 3 on Washington, but we'll see, because it's 2.5 with less juice now. Anyway, 87% of tickets, 62% of the cash on the Packers. So the Packers are extremely public, and I think all of it is basically the public wants absolutely nothing to do with the Giants. I mean, these are the 2 teams. We're on both teams that I think the public wants absolutely nothing to do with. They don't want anything to do with the Giants, and they don't want anything to do with the Titans. And it makes sense. I mean, you can understand why, but I'm going to tell you why you should play both these teams. Aside from the fact the market read is agreeing with both these. By the way, this total dropped to 42 because Jackson Dart's going to be out, although I'm not so sure that the total should drop, because the Giants are going to be bringing in famous Jameis, baby. It is not going to be Russell Wilson, so we don't have to worry about Russell Wilson, who's completely washed and has looked terrible this year. Nope, we get Jameis, man. Jameis Winston, he's electric, man, and he looks pumped up to get his shot to play again. You know he's going to be pumped up, because Winston has been this guy who I think just gets kind of screwed by the teams that he's on. I think he should be a starter somewhere. He's supremely talented. It's just that he throws too many interceptions, and he's an extremely risky quarterback, and teams just don't let him play because of that. But he can make things happen, man. And, dude, I just love his vibe. I mean, he vibes with Jackson Dart. Those 2 guys, they're excited. Winston, he's going to be excited to get out there, because he hasn't started a game in a while now. He started, he hasn't started since last year when Cleveland benched him. A guy like that, he's going to want to get his opportunity and get out there and show what he can do. So not only do I think this is an injured player spot here, and the team's going to step up their game because of that, we get extra line value because of it too, because Dart's out. So team's going to step up their game for that reason. I know this is a ridiculously injured Giants team. I get it. They don't have Scatterbo. They don't have Neighbors. Now they don't have Darts. So their main three guys are all out. I get it. That's all being factored into the line, though, and I think the line's overreacting a bit to it. Winston, again, he can make some things happen. Tracy is fine as a fill-in at running back. He's not terrible, I don't think. And they got some receivers that could step up a little bit, so I don't think they should be this much of an underdog here. Again, I think the team's going to step it up because they know about all the injuries here. I think they're going to rally around Winston as well. He's the type of guy that I think the team is going to rally for. He's just that type of guy, man. He gets his players pumped up for it, gets excited. He vibes with his teammates. I like all that, and I don't like the spot for Green Bay here. So we have an injured player spot. Oh, and I forgot. How could I forget? Not only is this an injured player spot for the Giants, I mentioned it earlier in the show, though. This is a fired coach spot for the Giants as well. The Giants fired Brian Daboll, so now they're elevating. I don't even know who it is. One of their coaches is being elevated into the head coach role now, man. So I think that's also a good thing. When a team fires a coach, usually the team has a spark for that reason too. So we have injured player theory plus fired coach all coming in on the Giants in this game. So multiple reasons why the Giants are going to put in a big effort in this one. When a coach gets fired, man, a lot of times the team did not like that coach, and they'll play harder for that interim coach that's in there, man. So the players might just get more excited because the coach is gone. They weren't responding to the coach. They didn't like him. But if that's not the case, and or in addition to that, the players will play hard in that first game because they want to prove that they were not the problem and that the coach was. So now the coach is gone. Watch what we can do, man. It wasn't our fault that we were sucking. It was the coach. So all of that is coming into play here for the Giants. Yeah, it is definitely a spot where you want to look to play on the Giants, but it's also a bad spot for Green Bay. Green Bay is on a short week. They just played on Monday night against Philadelphia, and I know it was an ugly loss, but it was still a huge game for them against Philadelphia. It was also part of my handicap in that one was that it was a playoff revenge spot for Green Bay because Green Bay had lost to Philadelphia in the playoffs last year, so they obviously remember that. You want to get revenge against the team that ended your season. Green Bay couldn't get it done, and now they're coming off that game. They have to turn around on a short week. They got to travel to the East Coast to New York, which, by the way, they have not done that this season. So, actually, no, they played at Pittsburgh, so I guess that is close. And they did win at Pittsburgh, but still. This is the furthest east they're going to have to travel this season. And then who do they have up next? Oh, yeah, they have to play all three of their division opponents again in the next 3 games. They got Minnesota, Detroit, and Chicago up next. So I think this is a sandwich spot, too, because they're going to be looking ahead to those divisional games. I don't think they're going to take this massively injured Giant team seriously at all. Yeah, nobody's going to think the Giants can do it. I think the Giants might win this game outright. Hopefully I don't look like an idiot, but we're going to go with it. Oh, and let's make this even better. Green Bay, when they've been a favorite of 6 or more points, or 6.5 or more, whatever it is, Green Bay has not covered any of those games, and they've lost 2 of them outright. So those games were at Cleveland. They were like a 8.5 point favorite, and that was one of my plays on the show. We took Cleveland. That was a winner outright. Then they were a 6.5 point favorite at Dallas. They did not cover, and they tied. They were whatever it was. I think an 8.5 point, 9.5 point favorite at Arizona. They didn't cover. And they were a 13.5 point favorite against Carolina, and they lost outright. So 4 games, Green Bay has been favored by 6.5 or more, and they're 0-4 against the spread in those games, and they're 1-2-1 straight up in those games. The only game they won was barely beating Arizona. So Green Bay has been horrible in a big favorite role. So that's another reason to take the Giants. So there you go, baby. Oh, no. Charles, please don't summon demons. Come on, man. Justin, what's up, man? Yes, congratulations to you, Missouri State. I was wrong about that game. I haven't looked at the box score yet to see if it was misleading in any way, but good. That was, yeah, man. Congratulations to you and Missouri State, man. They get the win. They could potentially get into their conference championship. I believe, and they definitely should petition to get into a bowl. It'll be a big deal for them, and I might, if they're in a bowl, I might give them out as a play in that bowl because a team that's in a bowl for the first time, they usually get really excited about it. So we'll see. No one knows who. No one knows. Wait, who? What means what? No one knows what who means. I don't know what's happening. All right, and then finally, we are gonna have a play on the Monday night game on Dallas. Right now, it's -3.5. I don't know if you have to play this now or not, because the number dropped a little bit to 3.5. You might be able to find a 3 that's juiced just a little bit. So obviously the 3 is preferable. I'd probably go up to about -115 on the 3. I don't like laying -120 though. So I might wind up having to recommend the 3.5 on this. But I like Dallas in the Monday night game. This is against the Raiders. 73% of tickets, 82% of the cash on Dallas. So they're public, but it looks like the money is coming in on Dallas as well. I like the setup for Dallas in this game, man. I mean, this is basically going to be pretty much Dallas' season. And I know that does mean the pressure is kind of on them a little bit to try to win this game. I know it's a road out-of-conference game, but Dallas, they got to get some wins, man, to get back to 500 here. And I think this might be a spot where they're going to be able to do it because Dallas is coming out of a bye. So the bye came at a good time because they lost 2 games going into the bye. And one of them was a very public game on Monday night, the game where everybody was complaining about how Disney took Monday Night Football away. So nobody was able to watch Monday Night Football except for me because I have ESPN. I have cable. But yeah, everybody saw that Dallas lost that game, or everybody didn't see it, but everybody at least heard that Dallas lost to Arizona at home. So I know the public is still on Dallas here just because they don't want anything to do with the Raiders. But I think the fact that Dallas had that ugly loss, 2 ugly losses in a row going into the bye, losing 44-24 to Denver on the road, and then losing at home to Arizona, pretty much inexcusable. Although I didn't give out Arizona as a play, but I mentioned that I leaned to Arizona in that game. But they had a bye at the right time, man. They're going to use that bye to fix things because they went into the bye on a bad note. Now they're coming out of that. It's a primetime game. They got to get a win. If they fall to 3-6-1, they're probably going to be screwed. I know they have Philadelphia, Kansas City, Detroit all up next, so you could argue it's a look ahead, but I don't think Dallas can really overlook teams right now coming out of this bye. I think they will show up. The Raiders, I don't think they're in a great spot, man. They played in a primetime game on Thursday, and they almost were able to beat Denver. That would have been a huge upset. The Raiders were, I think, like double-digit underdogs in this game, right? Whatever it was. The Raiders, both teams had like no offense in this game. It was pitiful, but the Raiders were that close to winning in Mile High, no less, on a primetime Thursday game. That was a big game for the Raiders, man. I think the Raiders are going to be in a bit of a hangover spot after that. I know it was Thursday, so they have a little bit of extra time to kind of recollect themselves after that, but I don't know if they're going to be able to do it, man. And remember, Denver is a punishing defense, and teams have been really, really bad in the game after they played Denver. I think teams have only covered like once or twice all season after playing Denver, so that's also not a good sign as far as the Raiders are concerned here, because teams have failed to cover most of the time coming off the game against Denver, and I think there's a reason for it. It's because Denver physically punishes you with their defense, so I don't like it. This game, Dallas is going to have to turn it into a shootout because I know Dallas, they don't have a good defense, although Dallas did make 2 trades. They got Quine and Williams from the Jets, and they got, I forget who else they got. They got one other defensive player in a trade, and Dallas actually has a couple of defensive players coming back from injury too, so Dallas's defense might actually be a little bit better, and the Raiders' offense is pretty bad. So maybe Dallas will be able to hold Vegas's pretty putrid offense in check enough. And Dallas, you know what they have to do, man. Dallas still has a good offense. Vegas's defense is not good. Dallas, they got to put the pedal to the metal on offense still and just outscore Vegas. If Dallas turns this into a shootout, I don't think Vegas is going to be able to keep up with them. It's expected to be a somewhat high scoring game, although the total did drop to 49.5. But I could see this game being somewhat high scoring. I mean, I think Dallas is going to have to try to make it that way to to win in a shootout. I mean, Vegas' offense shouldn't be able to keep up with Dallas's if they try to do that. So those are my thoughts on that. But we do have, of course, the other thing that we were talking about, which is that Dallas might be extra motivated here because what were we just talking about? What's his name? Marshawn Kneeland. While Dallas was on their bye, Marshawn Kneeland, a player who's a starter on Dallas's defense, he, at least according to the news sources, he committed suicide in a porta potty. So you have a player who I think was well liked on the team. He was still a pretty young guy, like mid-20s, and that happens. I think the team is actually going to rally. Like you could kind of see it going both ways. You could see that maybe the team will, be in like a sad mood after that, but I don't think that's going to happen here. I think Dallas is going to come out and want to play football because at the very least, the game of football can be a distraction from that, right? So you don't have to think about that death. You can just go out and play football, but also it can motivate you to try to win one for him. You know what I mean? So I think more often than not, it is going to be a motivating factor to play well for one of your teammates who just died. So I think that's going to happen here. And if you look at, there was an article that I saw here. Where is it now? They held a private vigil for him on Tuesday. So they've been going through it this week, man. But I saw one other article. Yeah, here it is. Grieving Cowboys back on field, best medicine. So I like to see something like this because this is from the coach, Brian Schottenheimer. He said, quote, this is a quote from him talking about the Cowboys players. They're like, we're done talking, we want to play. And that as a coach gets you excited. And that was in reference to the Kneeland death. So apparently the Cowboys are saying, okay, we've had to grieve here. We want to play football, man. So I like that as well. The coach likes hearing that. I like hearing that as well. If you want to play on a team, it seems like they want to go out and play well in the wake of this tragedy here, under these tragic circumstances. And then you also have it here, Dak Prescott, having dealt with loss, that is the best medicine for me. Dak Prescott talking about getting back out onto the field, getting back out there, handing the ball off and sprinting an extra 10 yards and making sure I'm doing it hard, etc. So you like to see quotes like this, man. I don't really dive into quotes too much, but of course I gave you the quote from Pittsburgh's coach for the Notre Dame play today. So these quotes, sometimes they can tell you what's going on here, man. And also it's even bigger, actually. I forgot about this. Dak Prescott's brother actually is a victim of suicide, if you want to refer to him, if you want to, phrase it that way. So Prescott has been through it before, man, so he knows, like, the deal. And I guess apparently Solomon Thomas, defensive lineman, his sister did as well. That's crazy, man. There's a lot going on here with the Cowboys. I like it. I think it's going to be, I don't like that it's extremely tragic circumstances. That's not what I mean. I like it as far as the handicap. I think Dallas is going to come out and play really well under these circumstances. So I think you got to do it. Dallas will be the play there. All right. Hell yeah. Missouri State can't get to the conference championship. It's enough for them to get to what do you mean it's not enough for them to get? I don't understand what you're saying. It's not enough for them to be eligible for the bowl. Yeah, they have more than 6 wins, so if they petition the league, they can get into a bowl. I'm pretty sure they can make the conference championship. I'll have to look and see what the records are, but they're a one-loss conference team. And one of the teams, I think Kennesaw State took a loss today, right? One of those 2 teams had to. Kennesaw and Jacksonville State. I think I was wrong, but Pedro, what's up, man? Thanks for hanging out. Highest confidence on the money line for me because you want to look towards like some smaller money lines probably, or do you want me to give you a bigger underdog? Because my plays this week are Washington, Dallas, and then the bigger these are against the spread, and then the other ones are bigger underdogs, Tennessee and the Giants. Any combination of those on the money line, you could do that too if you want to. Those are my most confident plays situationally. So I'll give you those 4 if you want to pick 3 of the 4. Yeah, Washington, Tennessee, Giants, and Dallas. I know how ugly that sounds, but if you can go back and watch my analysis on those earlier. I like all of those situations. Washington is actually probably the weakest situation of those. I agree. I think the Cowboys are definitely going to show up here. The Mile High Club. Well, that's the other thing. The Raiders are having to come out of Mile High. They're coming down out of elevation, so that might be another reason why maybe the spot's not great for the Raiders. For NDS, what topic? All right, yeah, I'm trying to get through all the comments here, but that's going to do it, man. Those are the plays for the week here. I know I'm going against the Houston jersey here, but I wore it anyway because this is the Houston-Tennessee conflict jersey where Houston is wearing the Oilers colors, which are the Tennessee Titans colors, and Tennessee gets all pissed off. I'm going to show it to Andy as well, Titans fan. All right. Once again, my plays. The weakest one, I think, is in the stupid Madrid morning game, but we'll take Washington plus the 2.5. I don't think it'll get to 3, so we're probably going to have to score that at 2.5. Tennessee plus 6. Giants plus 7. Might get to 7.5, but I would take either one of those. And Dallas, we'll wait on Dallas, maybe wait on Dallas and see if a 3 shows up at some point because it might. Although they're going to be a public side, so I don't really know. But I like Dallas nonetheless. So those are the plays this week. Thank you, sir. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out. Pinsy, Charles, Justin, Pedro, thanks for checking out the show. Who else has been in here tonight? Dirty Sock. Oh, sorry, Alex. I didn't see you, man. The Twitter comments all wind up at the top, man. I apologize. Alex, if you're still here, Drake May. What was the comment? Drake May. What about Drake May? I do have a Drake May jersey. I wore it the other day because I'm coming back on board with the Patriots just as an FU to Bill Belichick, basically, because Belichick hates Drake May. So I talked about that. I wore my Drake May jersey on Thursday for that reason. Drake May, I don't know what Alex is saying Drake May for, though. That he's going to win the MVP? That he's the shiny new toy? He's pretty good. I mean, I will tell you that. And yeah, Dirty Sock, Alex, yeah, thank you guys for hanging out. Mr. Pinsy, everybody. Thank you guys for all hanging out. That's going to do it for now. I'll be back in the morning because there's going to be some amount of college basketball. Hopefully not much. Usually it's light on Sunday because I don't want to have to do that much handicapping in the morning. I haven't looked at all. And then there is going to be some NBA and NHL as well. But I think it'll be on Sunday. It's usually pretty light, though, because Sunday is the NFL day. So we'll see. Belichick just lost badly to Wake. Wow. I thought North Carolina would cover in that game. That's crazy. I think I might have put them in my pick 7. So that's not, I think I put North Carolina plus the points in my pick 7 money thing and splash. So that's not good. My other one, the one that has the lower conference games available, and then I put all 7 of my other one is 7, I think. So the other one is a 6 plus a best bet. Although unfortunately in that game, my best bet, which gives you an extra point if you get it, was USC. Man. Wish I had picked one of my other ones as the best bet. Should have been Notre Dame, but what can you do? Most of my best bets in that one have won this year, though. I've only lost, 3 of them on the season, maybe 4. So, unfortunately, 28-12. I mean, that's not that ugly, but they did not cover, obviously. I thought it was going to be a lower scoring game than even that. It went over the total, I think, which is ridiculous. All right, that's going to do it. Thanks, guys, for hanging out. Be back in the morning. Learn to Toad on Twitter, Learn to Toad on Instagram. Go check me out at those places. Like, subscribe to the show here, of course. Do all the things. Leave me a good comment, Let's get some more eyes on this thing, especially when I've been giving out good plays, but maybe people don't want to listen to me. I don't know. We're also on audio, iTunes/Apple and Spotify. Give me a good review over there and listen over there. That helps me out. Covered in Uke is my ukulele cover YouTube channel, so you can check that out as well. Might want to try to start consolidating those things. I don't know. And then we got patreon.com/learn-to-toad, and you go check out what I got over there, which is not much, but you get a Spotify feed of Uke stuff, and you get Uke requests, which only Charles has done so far, I believe. That's going to do it. Peace for now, guys.